Ladies, gentlemen, children of all ages, it's time for another round of Mind Your Fucking Business with your host, Jeffrey Prince.
Thank you, Dougie Sticks, as always, coming to you from the beautiful studios of Undefeated Media here in Bergen County, New Jersey. This is the Mind Your Fucking Business podcast, brought to you, of course, by our good friends at the Bamboozle Project and DraftKings. You can go on the Bamboozle Project, www.thebamboozleproject.com, stock up on your spring and summer MYPB gear or accessories, I should say, as well, water bottles, things like that. Flip-flops if you're, already in the pool in the south. I heard it's pretty warm there. You can use promo code MYPB, save yourself 20% at checkout on your total order. This is episode 146, 146, so thank you for listening using the SAP feature of today's broadcast. You can send your questions at any time to mypbshow@gmail.com, or you can also DM us on the Instagram platform. That always works. And you can listen to the show a variety of different ways. You can watch the show live on Instagram. That is new as of a couple months ago. Yes. So you can watch us on Instagram, or you can also watch on YouTube.
And Facebook.
Yeah, we forget about that a lot. But you can also stream the show anytime at your listening pleasure, or at your convenience, I should say, whenever's good for you. Through your phone, you can do that on Spotify or iTunes. So you've got plenty of opportunities if you want to listen to the MYPB show, whether it be audio, video, a combination of both. You've got plenty of different ways to do that. Should mention as well, if you're going to any event, use the promo code MYPB on SeatGeek. If you do that, you can certainly save yourself $20 on your order. All right. So normally we kind of have this, I don't want to say tradition, but normally the way we do this show is we'll go through the games the Rangers have played since we're last on. That's normally how we lead in. We're going to do that today. We're just not going to do that in the front end of the show. We're going to do it in a little bit. We're going to switch things up.
There's a lot of stuff going on.
There's a lot of stuff going on. And because the trade deadline has come and gone, figure we should start there. Right?
Yeah. That's probably what everyone's most anticipated to talk about.
So, and I know that people are, because we got a lot of DMs, about, what was the thought on the deadline. And I kind of said, look, I don't want to get in. I don't want to have to type it out. Just listen on Tuesday and we'll go through it. So that's what we're going to do now. And we'll go through it with the people that are watching on Instagram as well as YouTube. If you have a question or a comment about it, we'll try to bring it in as we do it. So, I think what you saw is this. You saw a philosophy change of what normally the Rangers do, where they certainly last year, they went out and they got big name guys. They got Patrick Kane, Vladimir Tarasenko. And the expectation, I think, for people, or the common thought was this. Well, they're going to go out, they're going to get probably one of the better players that are available, whether that be Frank Vetrano, whether that be Vladimir Tarasenko. And if you notice, I just named two people that were former Rangers, but they're going to go out and get names of players that are the big names. This is New York. This is how they do. And that's exactly what they didn't do. So what you saw is a philosophy change where they didn't go out and get the big name. For me, myself, I have no problem with what they did. And what Chris Drury ended up doing was ended up saying to himself, look, I'm going to hold on to the assets that I have. I am going to hang on to, the Capo Cacos of the world, the Adam Sikoras of the world, Berard, these prospects that you might be big on, Gabe Perreault, although I would like to think he was never in a discussion. Maybe even Brendan Hoffman would fit into that category too. But to say, look, I'm not going to give up these prospects, these current roster players like Kako or whatever it may be, or even high-end picks. I'm going to hold on to my assets. And what that shows you is this, and I'm going to use Capo Kako as the example, okay? We debate, and people are going to get on me, and I know where the comment's going to come from in a minute in the chat, that I said that this is the year of Kako's breakout. It has not been a breakout year for Capo Kako. It just hasn't. I was flat out wrong on that. But people have been unsure of what Capo Kako is, right? I can debate that maybe he's a player to hold on to. Maybe he's a player you give up on, even though he's at a young age. The organization gave you the answer last week of what they think. And it's really their opinion, not mine, that matters. And to them, they didn't feel that any player that they could take back that they were offered was worth sending a young Capo Caco the other way. So I look at it like this. I think it's somewhat comforting. And it's not to say that the Ranger front office is always right, because they're certainly not. But it's comforting to know that this is what these guys do for a living. And they think highly of Capo Caco where we stand in March of 2024. They think highly of Adam Sikora and some of these young guys and Offman. And I like that. I like that. Now, they got Wenberg from Seattle, and they got Roslovic from Columbus. They didn't give up to get any of them. But I'll remind you, go back to the deadline 2 years ago. If anyone is going to tell me that they knew 2 years ago who this guy Frank Vetrano was, that I believe it was a 4th-round pick that we sent to Florida was, and you said, wow, Frank Vetrano is a great get by Chris Drury. What a stud. You didn't know who Frank Vetrano was. You didn't. And if you're going to tell me you knew the name, maybe I'll buy it, but you didn't know his stats. You didn't know anything. And I will guarantee you that you didn't know he was going to go on and be that good of a move for Chris Drury in that playoff run in 2022, that Vetrano was going to up his price in the free agent market and go to Anaheim because of his success he had in New York. You didn't know that. So there's nothing to say that you don't know that Roslovic or Wenberg can't become these players like Vetrano and Kopp was. Mm-hmm. And for them to take that risk in becoming those players, you didn't really give anything up at all. Mm-hmm. So it's worth it. Absolutely. And the organization might look at it and say this. Now, well, let me say it like this. There can be an argument that when you look at the Rangers roster on paper, mm-hmm. maybe they're not tough enough. Maybe the roster isn't as good as Carolina or Florida, because Carolina got better last week. Let's just call it like it is. And Florida got better by adding Tarasenko, and Carolina adds Gensel and Kuznetsov. So they've gotten better, right? Mm-hmm. And you can look at the Rangers organization and say, well, maybe they didn't feel they needed to respond. And here's the argument for why they may be right. The roster, the way it is right now, look at the success they've had this year. They started 18-4. They've been on a tear through February. They won 10 in a row again. Mm-hmm. Now, look, regular season success doesn't automatically translate to postseason success. Look at the Boston Bruins for the best example ever in history last year of that. But to stay pat and not give anything up, I'm okay with it. I'm fine with it. I don't hate it. Now, you couldn't do the Jake Gensel deal. So on the trade deadline was Friday. Mm-hmm. The Jake Gensel deal on Wednesday, it came out that Kyle Dubas, who's the general manager in Pittsburgh, out of nowhere, Jake Gensel's available, right? And every GM, when you hear this, has got to be thinking, okay, the other 31 GMs are saying to themselves, what do I have in my package that I can give up to get Jake Gensel? What can I do? Now, Chris Drury holds everything close to his chest. We know that, all right? So what you see there is what we've heard, or what we were told, was that Pittsburgh wanted in return either Capo Caco in a first, or maybe Brennan Offman in a first, or maybe, it wouldn't have been Gabe Perreault. That name better not have come up. Something along, let's say Capo in a first, okay? Mm-hmm. You cannot do that deal because you don't have a long-term deal worked out with Jake Gensel, and he's a free agent. Yeah. So in essence, what you would have done, for those that were upset they didn't do Jake Gensel, I don't think they realized this. If you had traded for Jake Gensel, okay, you would have, in essence, taken a rental and put your chips in and given up a first-round pick in Capo Caco. You couldn't do that. Yeah. And I believe Chris, I know Chris is watching, can confirm this, because I think he had mentioned this, is that Pittsburgh wasn't even allowing whatever teams they negotiated for to even sign an extension, to have an extension in place. So it was like, if you're going to take Jake Gensel from us, you're going to take him, and you're going to know that when we give him to you in the next 48 hours, you do not have an extension with him beyond the 2023-2024 season. Crazy. And that's too much of a risk for the Rangers to take. Yeah.
Probably too much of a cap hit, too, at the end of the day.
It would have been hard to fit. Yes. Yeah. So to kind of recap it, I don't hate it at all. And I understand, Ranger fans, this is the New York market. You want the big name, you want the big fish, put them on Broadway. The team is good. Yes, you would have liked to fulfill the top line right wing. Maybe Roslovic can do that. Wenberg could maybe be the third line center, or, not that I like this, But if he can't be the third line center, maybe you make Goodrow the third line center and you put Wenberg in the fourth line center. There's ways to make it work. But right now, you know what your roster is going to be in a month and a week from now when the Stanley Cup's playoffs start. Which is exciting and also terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, but you've had a great run so far. Obviously, it's not the playoffs, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
It ain't broke, don't fix it. And the other thing, and I say this all the time here, so I'm not saying anything I don't know, and I'm not saying anything any casual hockey fan doesn't know. And we're gonna get into the Rempe stuff because people on Instagram are blowing this topic up. I mean, all over the place right now. So we're gonna get to it in a little bit. But I say this all the time here, and again, you can be a casual hockey fan and you know this. So this is just a reiteration of my point. You can have your roster, you can have your 4 lines, you could have your 3D pair. The Rangers' success in the playoff is coming down to Igor Shesterkin. I can guarantee you that if the Rangers make a deep run and God forbid won the Stanley Cup for a change, it will be because of Igor Shesterkin. It won't because of Wenberg or Roslovic, right? Okay. And if they don't do well and they're out in the first round or they're out in the second round, you're going to sit here and critique the goaltending. Yeah. That's what it's going to come down to. So the team that is rostered in front of Igor Shesterkin has been good enough all year to win. You don't need to give up your future or any of your major assets.
So you brought him up. And people in the comments are also bringing up this year is the year of Rem sanity right here. Okay. So, you don't think it's good to have a bruiser who can fight with anybody on the other team from any team? Like someone's roughing up, Panarin.
I'm going to get to
Rem sanity over there.
Very good example of why you would want a player like that with Panarin, because as you remember, because I'm sure you do, this was the Tom Wilson episode from 2 years ago. I'm going to get to Rempe in a minute when we recap like the games and stuff. And I'm going to have a take that everyone's going to hate me, and that's fine. I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to just give you my opinion. But I do think the overall thing that you're asking, the Rangers normally are unphysical enough in the playoffs. It's like the trademark of the organization. Would a player like Rempe, if he was on your playoff roster, help? Yes. I mean, it wouldn't hurt in that regard. So, and Nikolai's point, Rempe is making people who don't watch hockey pay attention to hockey. That's true, but we'll get into this in a couple minutes. You may want to stay tuned, Nikolai. So the other thing with the Rangers last week, fans were upset with Vladimir Tarasenko. Like, why would Chris Drury not sit here and go get Vladimir Tarasenko? So Chris brought up a point weeks ago that the Rangers couldn't take him back on a retained salary. So almost right there, you knew that he wasn't going to be able to be taken, right? But the other thing is Vladimir Tarasenko had a full no trade clause, and he went to the general manager in Ottawa and said the only place, and this has even come out, so this is like factual. The only place I am willing to move my no trade clause is to go to Florida. Why would you go to Florida? Well, 2 reasons. One, they're really good. But secondly, his wife and kids have a house there. So why is he going to be stuck in Ottawa, right? No offense to Ottawa. I'm sure it's nice. Maybe not this time of year, but I'm sure it's nice. I've never been. But you could waive your no trade, go to probably the favorite in the Eastern Conference where it's 80 degrees. Oh, and by the way, my wife and kids are there. So you can't get on Chris Drury for not getting Vladimir Tarasenko back. It wasn't ever really an option. It was not possible to do. So Carolina and Florida, like I said, as people are commenting, are certainly on paper right now better than the Rangers. But the Rangers have Igor Shesterkin. You want to trust Carolina's goaltending to make a deep run through the third week of June? I don't. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't make that. So I don't know.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll get into this because people are writing about it on both YouTube and Instagram. All right. Let's talk about last night with Matt Rempe. Okay. All right.
Yes.
Rem sanity. I have been not on the Rem.
You're not on the Rem train.
I've never been on the Rem train, but I've never been off it either. Like, I've just been neutral.
You're at the train station.
I'm at the train station. Okay. If I'm at the train station now and the train comes in today, that train can leave. I've had enough. Last night is totally inexcusable. Okay. You have a 2-0 lead in a game. Okay. You're up 2-0 late in the second period, and you take a stupid 5-minute major penalty, which if the Devils' power play wasn't the worst I may have ever seen their power play act, and I wish their power play was like that last spring, but if their power play wasn't brutal, you've just let an opponent back in a game that they're not even skating.
Yeah.
It is absolutely stupid. And if a mistake like that is made in a playoff series in April or May, that's the sort of stupidity that turns a playoff series around.
True.
I'm done. I'm done. I've had enough. We can send him down. He's going to get suspended. And if anybody, and I'm sorry because I see people are writing this on the Instagram chat. If anybody thinks that this hit last night wasn't deserving of a penalty or isn't something that should have been getting a suspension, you got to take off the bias sunglasses or you got to get a better TV screen because he clearly lays out his elbow and hits him in the head. I don't need it. Right. Maybe Matt Rempe is talented. Maybe he's got the ability to score goals during the season, during his career. He's young. I get it. He's got to be more disciplined than that. You cannot ever up 2-0 in a game, take a stupid, needless 5-minute major penalty to let your opponent back in the game. And all these people today that are writing in the chat right now, nonstop, Rempe this, Rempe that. If the Rangers had blown the game last night and the Devils have scored, say they scored twice on the power play and won 3-2, you wouldn't be saying it. I'm done. I've had enough. I don't need it. I'm not here. The Rangers are trying to win a Stanley Cup, not to be the toughest team in the Bronx, right?
True.
They're not trying. That's not the goal. I'm done. Now, you want to say we try it again, maybe if you need to, down the road. Maybe we try it again next season. I don't need this in playoffs. I don't.
So you don't think this was a good learning lesson?
No, there's no lesson. There's no lesson last night. You take a penalty like that. Now, look, I don't even care for the antics of the way, then he's getting escorted off the ice and he's waving to the Devils. I just want the Rangers to win, right? I'm not trying to talk smack. And first off, and it pains me to say this, any Ranger fan last night that is sitting there like mocking the Devils, we just got eliminated by them 9 months prior. Well, I mean, can we please not forget about the short history, the short past here? But I'm done. I've had enough. I have literally had enough. I was so enraged last night. I was watching the game with my son, okay? And so my son has a thing where he likes when calls are reviewed. He likes to watch them with me and we try and get it right.
Yeah.
Now, my son, love him. A lot of times he can be biased towards the Rangers on calls, right? As he is. Tyler watched the call last night and says, Dad, that's definitely a 5-minute major. Yes. So anybody who's on here sitting here saying it's not a 5-minute major, it was. We don't need this stupidity on our team. I don't.
So let me ask you this. He the same play happens. He doesn't put the elbow up, but he really jacks up that defenseless Devil player. Do you feel the same way? Like it's not like a dirty play. Just put his elbow. He just lays him out, like clocks him defenselessly.
Yeah,
he roughs him up a little bit.
Yes, and people are saying right now again on the chat that he brings the physicality, the Connor McKay moment. I get it every night. Yes, I'm not saying that there's no value to this guy at all, but it is a risk you are taking for somebody to come out on the ice that can do something so stupid like that in a 2-0 game last night. Now, he can show you. I'll show you the other side. Last night, he got challenged right away in the first period to a fight and resisted, which was the right play. You don't need to give the Devils something momentum. You're the better team. You don't need to do that. He was right to stay away. But to throw that hit on Siegenthaler and lead with the elbow in that moment, it just you've got to be smarter than that. Yeah. Maybe you're losing 3-0 and there's 2 minutes left. Not that I'm condoning ever anybody elbowing someone to the head or taking a 5-minute major.
That's what I'm saying. No elbow. He just, gives him a nice.
Yeah, it's fine. Just don't take the penalty. I don't mind you finishing.
Say he hits him hard and it is a penalty, but he didn't put the elbow up. You're still saying the same thing?
No, that's fine. Don't take a penalty. If you make a play and you hit someone and you don't put your team in a vulnerable position that you now have a 5-minute major that you've got to kill off in a game that you've completely controlled. And by the way, how the Rangers weren't up 7-0 by this point in the game is beyond me. And it wasn't even like, it was like block shots by the Devils. It was ridiculous. How many posts did they hit last night? Lafreniere hit a few. But I'm at a point now where it is. And Randy, how is it defenseless? It's hockey. We can put up Randy's comment.
He's calling me out because I said defenseless. No, I'm saying like if he didn't put the elbow up and hit the guy who wasn't looking, like in like a roughed him up, but didn't put the elbow up, are we all saying the same thing?
Yeah. But so, Randy, to answer your question, yes, it's hockey. It's not so much that he was defenseless. It's the fact that he led with the elbow. That's the problem.
That's what I'm saying.
You've got to be smarter to not lead with the
He
elbow.
leads with his fist,
Right. Lead with your shoulder.
Yeah.
And when Siegenthaler is in a position there as well, remember, where he's near the boards, right? So it's even easier to make up a legal hit there or be physical legally because you have the boards right there you can hit him into. It's not like he's sitting in center ice, right? Just don't put out the elbow. As he said. Thank you. You're absolutely right. And Nikolai's comment, we didn't talk much about tough guy Dylan McElrath when we had him. But Dylan McElrath, who and B-Rock, actually, Dylan McElrath we were talking before the show about Rangers' top, picks that never worked out. 6th overall pick, Dylan McElrath. The reason they didn't talk about Dylan McElrath is he wasn't going around becoming a sensational insanity doing stupid stuff like this. I can deal. Look, I was not against Matt Rempe before last night. I didn't buy into the whole hype. It was fine. I don't mind the physical play. I don't mind bringing energy on the ice. I get that's good. But now if you're going to tell me the caveat to me taking that is that I've got to sit here and deal with killing off a 5-minute major when I'm up to nothing, no thanks. Go to Hartford. That's where the train's going, to Hartford. That's where the train goes.
That's where the train's going.
To the minor league affiliate.
So why can't we just put them on? I see, Owen saying on Instagram, we can't bring Instagram up, but
right.
Here, saying keep him on the 4th line.
We'll pull up Owen's comment.
Start the 4th line for the games, right? Start the 4th line. He goes out, gets a fight in the first 2 minutes, and take him off the ice.
We could. And John George on Instagram brings up a good point, clarifying something I said that I should say. Even leading with the shoulder can be called a major if the main point of contact is the head, which it was. So that's a very good point. So Owen's point is that Rempe is fine. Keep him on the 4th line. We've seen that he's playing good 4th line hockey. Last night, our second goal happened because our goalie couldn't see around him. So that is true. The second goal last night, we'll give Rempe credit. He literally stood in front of the goalie. I don't even whoever the Devils have in goalie stays, and the goalie couldn't see over him. Okay, so I don't mind him playing on the 4th line, Owen, but I mind if I have a player who's going to do something stupid like that again. He's lucky that last night when he did that, it didn't matter, right? The Rangers won the game anyway, 3-1. So be it. You take the 2 points and run. It's totally fine. But if I have to think that it's a risk to happen or be a reoccurring offense, which it probably could be with this gentleman, I've got to be a little bit. I've got to be a little bit hurt. I got to be a little bit concerned.
Okay.
So
fair enough.
Yeah.
The Ramsanity continues.
Yeah. And people that are and Nikolai saying it here, you don't have to pull it up, but there's a bunch of people on Instagram saying it too, that Siegenthaler sort of stopped, and then took the check. That's not the problem for me. It's the Rempe leading with the elbow. This is not pinning it on anyone else. It's simply leading with the elbow.
And we all need to remember, like, this has happened super fast. Like, you got to put yourself in these guys' shoes as well. Like, you're going full speed and then the guy kind of moves and you're trying to get him. Things happen. But you got to be smart.
Yeah. So let's go to the game. So the Rangers were off since we were on last Tuesday, and it was a really good thing. They didn't play until Saturday against St. Louis. And what you had, which just was scheduling luck for the Rangers, is that week where players are nervous about who's getting traded, you didn't have games, which to me was good, right? Because you don't have the nervous anxiety. You don't have a player that you're about to trade that the Rangers are going to play, and then they get hurt. Like, it just kind of worked out. So Saturday night, I didn't see the whole game, but I did think that they played pretty well for being a team that was laid off for 5 days, the last 5 days, and also St. Louis isn't very good. Let's be fair. So they played well. And last night, I was on a text change, and Chris might have been on it actually, where we were talking with someone who wasn't at the game, and they said, "Well, it's only 2-0 or 1-0. How are they playing?" The Rangers were the better team. I mean, I don't really think that the only time that there were 2 times last night I felt threatened. The 5-minute major that I had to sit through for stupidity, right? Which we've already said enough about. And at the end, when it was 2-1 in the last minute, there was a scramble in front of the net where I was a little bit worried for a minute. But we'll pull up Nikolai's comment about Zach Jones, because I should say it. Nikolai saying that Zach Jones did play all right last night. He did. Zach Jones had a very underrated play. I believe it was in the first period. The puck, the Devils went to clear the zone. Zach Jones actually pinched a little bit, lifted the stick of the Devil guy. I forgot who it was going to receive the pass, stole it, and kept the puck in the zone. If I'm going to get on Zach Jones, which I do all the time, and by the way, he would have been someone I would have been fine with trading for the while we're on the trade topic.
He would have put them both on the same train.
Yeah, exactly. Well, but no, Zach Jones did play very well last night. I would absolutely agree. Although maybe Zach Jones and Rempe should switch positions this summer. Now, I'm not saying, I just want to clarify something on Rempe. I'm not saying, and obviously you can't go out and trade him today anyway because the trade deadline's gone. I'm not saying that he has no value here. This is something you can work on, but clearly it's just a sheer lack of discipline and knowing the situation.
Fair.
This is not 101 hockey sense. This is first grade hockey sense.
So the hockey that you see with the kids, they know more. They know better.
But yeah, I mean, look, if I was playing in my beer league team, okay, and I was playing on the, and ironically, I'm sporting the shirt of where we play. Actually, it's really? Hockey. Check them out if you're in the New Jersey area. If I am playing in my beer league team, okay, and we're up to nothing, and we have an idiot on our team that then goes out and just cross-checks a guy in the back and takes a 5-minute penalty, that's as stupid there as it is. It's just knowing the game of hockey and knowing the situation you're in.
True.
Right?
Yeah.
It's not, this is not rocket science.
It's not. So, Rempe aside, does this mean that Zach Jones is winning you over?
No. Zach Jones is not winning me over, but he had a good game last night. Now, the Rangers tonight, and now I said last week the schedule worked in their favor. It did not tonight. Back-to-back in Carolina. So, they're up against it tonight because Carolina is not coming off an end-to-end, back-to-back. Let me look real quick. I didn't look. I meant to look before we went on. I can look real quick to see how many points separate the Rangers and the Hurricanes. I believe it. Well, no, it's not as much as I thought. It's actually only 4. So tonight is it's a bigger game than I thought. The Rangers and Hurricanes have each played 64 games. The Rangers have 88 points and the Hurricanes have 84. Now, if you told me that the Hurricanes are going to end up passing the Rangers, because the Rangers' schedule coming up is murderous. I mean, it's terrible the next 2 weeks. If you told me the Hurricanes passed the Rangers and got the 1 seed in the Metro and the Rangers got the 2, I'm not going to lose sleep over it.
So ESPN has been, saying big game on Saturday with the Penguins. Is that really a big game? The Penguins aren't?
The Penguins are not good. The problem with that's not the hard game. That's maybe the easy one on the schedule. They have Carolina tonight.
Yeah.
They go to Tampa on Thursday. They have Pittsburgh, yes, but then they have the Islanders who are playing better, although they finally lost last night. Can you put up? Chris wants to put up the comment. Jeff's team isn't up to nothing. He wants to say that the beer league team that I play on isn't up to nothing often. I will say this: we were 9-1 this season. We lost last week in the playoffs, but I mean we're not as bad as Chris is trying to make it seem.
Didn't you already win?
We won. We won
the championship like 2 weeks ago.
No, we won the championship back in December.
Yeah,
beer league hockey is weird. Right, 2 weeks ago. You lose a season like we lost in the I guess it was winter playoffs last week. Guess what we have next week? The first spring game. The spring game. It just cycles. It's like, and I joined the deck hockey league this weekend actually for the first time in my life, which is why if you weren't here when I was walking in, it was a little bit hard for me to walk.
Oh.
So, but yeah, so if you told me that the Rangers and Hurricanes at the end of the day end up swapping places, it's not the end of the world. If you want to get into playoff matchups, which I really don't want to, if you were the 2 seed in the Metro, you're guaranteed to play the team right behind you in the Metro. Right now, that's the Flyers. If you got let's say you had you were the second best, you were number 1 in the Metro and you played the second wild card, you would be playing the Islanders. I mean, is one right now better than the other? No. I mean, because in the playoff, anyone can beat anyone. So,
yeah. So who are we looking at for the first round?
It's way too early to tell. Here's what you can do. You're either going to play. You're going to finish 1 or 2 in your division.
Yeah.
So you're either going to play 3, which is either the Flyers or Islanders. So it's either Flyers or Islanders, and then on a wild card sense, it's it would be Flyers, Islanders, Tampa, or Detroit. So you're most likely going to play either the Flyers, the Islanders, Tampa, or Detroit, and that would work whether you finished first or second in the Metro, because any of those teams could be the wild card if you finish first.
Interesting.
Now, if you told me if I had to pick between Tampa, Detroit, the Flyers, and the Islanders who I would want to play. I probably wouldn't want to play Tampa because of their postseason success in the past. I mean, there's no team that I would want to play. That's just asking for me to say that I'd want to play this team and then we get swept. So I'm not doing that. Any of these teams can beat the Rangers, and the Rangers can beat any of those teams.
So not to rub it into anybody, but do the Devils have any chance?
No.
To make the
Devils are at 66 points. They are 6 points out. I don't want to get into the Devil stuff, but they just last night looked awful. I mean, it's almost like they didn't even care. B-Rock was telling me before you came in that Jack Hughes is still hurt, which maybe explains a lot. Like Jack Hughes just looks like he doesn't even care.
Wow.
Yes, Jesper Bratt last night missed a breakaway, and then about
people
two
paying
people paying. Look at you! You become so knowledgeable. So
people pay to watch him, and he didn't come to show.
Yeah,
B-Rock, how do you feel about this? Is this the truth?
B-Rock,
there's no shot. There's no shot for your playoff hopes this year. Minuscule.
B-Rock made it
1 in a million.
B-Rock said to me.
100. So
B-Rock said to me walking in here from the parking lot today, the overly crowded parking lot at Undefeated Media, that he spoke with, I think it was his brother last night, and it said that last night was probably the last meaningful game for the Devils.
Sources say.
And B-Rock's Devils now have a 3-game Western trip. They're going to Dallas, Arizona, and Vegas. They're not winning in Dallas, and they're not winning in Vegas. So at best, they're getting 2 points out of that. Yeah, it's
so they win those 3 games. Is there a chance? How many games are there left in the season?
They play 82 games. The Rangers are at 64. There's 18 games left.
Oh, there's a minuscule.
Oh, there's a chance.
You got to win all those 18 games.
Yeah, it'll be tough. So why don't we pull Nikolai's coming? Florida is the only team I'm generally fearful of. Like you said, Carolina goaltending is fart noise. Yeah, I don't. I wouldn't want to look Carolina if Gensel is healthy. Remember, he's still hurt, but he will be healthy. You know that team can score. And if Igor is not on and the Rangers are letting in 3 or 4 a game, it's not a guarantee that whoever Carolina's goaltending is, you're going to score 3 or 4. Like, I don't think you should be shut out by them, but you're going to have to control their offense because their offense is good. And Florida is loaded, right? Like adding Tarasenko, the team they just didn't need. And they got Bobrovsky. They are Reinhardt, obviously, Kachuk. I mean, they are so good. And if you take it a step further with the Vancouver comment, if you can pull that up, which is that Vancouver will be a tough matchup for us this postseason, Nikolai is already claiming that the Rangers have won the Eastern Conference.
So interesting stat you have here. Goals for the Hurricanes have 216, and then this is the Metropolitan Division, 216. Rangers have 213, and the Devils have 212. But the Devils have a lot of goals against.
Yes. Well, defense wins championships if you don't have goaltending, and that has certainly been a problem.
227 goals against. Rangers 173 goals against.
Yeah. Well, that's the importance of defense for sure. So we did this. I should say also Jacob Trouba is out 2 to 3 weeks, which doesn't help either. I thought last night, and someone had texted it to me too, so I wasn't the only one thinking this, that I thought Braden Schneider played really well last night. And this is an opportunity for him that's going to get more minutes because Trouba's out. If Trouba's going to be hurt, and we know the way that he plays, using his body, so it's not really a surprise. If Trouba is going to be out, you'd rather it be now than a month and a half from now. In some ways, it goes that. We'll take Randy's question. Does Philly stay in a playoff spot? It's going to be hard. John Tortorella, the suspended John Tortorella, I should say, got suspended for, did you see this the other day? Not leaving the bench. Did you see this?
Not leaving the bench.
He got ejected from a game and then refused to leave the bench, which is, if you know John Tortorella, is to love John Tortorella. And so these sort of actions do not surprise you. They have not been playing well. It's almost like John Tortorella got the most out of them. And then all of a sudden they have just not been as good. They can make the playoffs. Look, I don't know how that team, if they do make the playoffs, makes a deep run. But with or without making the playoffs, John Tortorella has done an exceptional job there. And it pains me to say because I hate Philadelphia, but I do like Torts. I did think he did a good job here in New York when he was here 10 years ago. But I do, if I had to guess, I think they probably will make the playoffs either as third in the Metro or the wild card. I guess that's really the only way they can. I'm not telling you anything there newsworthy, but yes, I do think that they will make the playoffs at some point this season. If I had to guess, yes, but they are trending the wrong way. That is for sure. So.
Interesting.
So with Jacob Trouba out, so opportunities here. You're going to see Zach Jones more for the next 2 to 3 weeks. Exciting for the Zach Jones fan club out there if you like him. So the Rangers, let's look real quickly. I know their schedule the next four. You've got Carolina, you've got Florida, you've got Pittsburgh, you've got the Islanders, and you've got Winnipeg coming in. Winnipeg used to be the sort of team that when you saw Winnipeg on your schedule in the Garden, you would just think automatically win. But they are one of the better teams in the NHL, so you can't think that. So the schedule. Hurricanes tonight is a tough game. At Tampa, Tampa's good, so Tampa's not an easy game. At Pittsburgh is a winnable game, but those division games you never know. Then you have the Islanders coming in here, you never know. Then you have Winnipeg, who's really good. Boston's really good. The Panthers, who are really good. So the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games are extremely difficult.
Yeah.
And then,
going to any of these?
Am I going to any of them? No. I am not. I was so I had tickets for Sunday versus the Islanders, and there was a high likelihood that my kids were going to have some sort of sport, so I don't have them anymore. And of course, I was telling B-Rock before, guess who doesn't have sports now and could have went. And now the ticket prices there's a million other things I could be doing, though. I'll watch it from home. So that's not an easy schedule. Oh, and then after that, they have the Flyers, the Avalanche, Arizona, who's better than people think, Pittsburgh again, the Devils, which is winnable. The Red Wings, Montreal is winnable. The Islanders and Flyers, Islanders again. They play the Islanders 3 more times in the next month. And then Ottawa at home. It's not an easy schedule. You could theoretically, just by looking at the schedule, say to yourself, I do see an opportunity that they could lose. They could not finish first in the Metro Division, which is possible. But again, I'm not going to lose sleep. I'm not sitting here going crazy that they need the 1 seed, because the only reason it would matter if you got the second in the Metro versus the first is that you would have to play Carolina in the second round if they both won, and Carolina would have home ice. And if you remember 2 years ago, they had Game 7 in Carolina and the Rangers dominated. That's a building the Rangers can win in. Now, would you rather it be in the Garden? Of course. But I'm not going to sit here and lose my mind if they don't finish first in the Metro. Sure. Like, they don't print. I don't know. Do they print Metro Division champion like shirts? Like, hey, they won the Metro Division in 2023-24.
Champs, baby.
They don't really need. I don't need that. No one's gonna buy that. No one. That's not the goal here.
Yeah.
So,
Lord Stanley.
There's one goal here, and when you know what you've had the regular season that they have had, where they've been so good for most of it, maybe like a couple of rough patches here and late in 2023. When you've had the sort of season that they've had, it has to in some ways be Stanley Cup or bust. You're not going to sit here and tell me now in June or the end of May, if they lose in the Eastern Conference Finals in 7 games to Florida, that this was a successful season. It's not. You have to now win the Stanley Cup.
So, based on our window of opportunity, if the window was wide open, is it slowly coming down? Like, where's the window?
Well, Chris Drury, good question. Chris Drury did a good job of keeping it a little bit more elevated by not giving up a lot of stuff last week.
So he gave it a little bump.
Igor Shesterkin is still young, right? Panarin, obviously the year that he's having, you would expect similar things next year. I think it would be. They will have another shot at it next year.
And by not giving up a lot this year, you have some draft picks to work with.
Very true. They definitely do. But with the Rangers' track record, they don't draft well. So what's your take on going back to the top 16 teams for the playoffs, regardless of Eastern Finals? I like that. I like that idea. So let me explain. It used to be, for the longest times, it was the top 8 teams in each conference made it, right? Strictly conference based. So 1 would play 8, 2 would play 7, 3 would play 6, 4 would play 5, and then you would reseed. The NHL changed about 5 years ago to this system where it's the top 3 teams for the division, right, win, and then 2 plays 3 within the division. And then the 1 team plays, the 2 1 seeds play the 2 remaining highest point getters. And I believe the reason why the NHL did it, it's the only reason I can think of, is it creates better, intriguing first-round matchups with teams in your division. So you have a higher likelihood, for the Rangers, we'll use as an example, you have a higher likelihood of them playing a team in their division, being a more intriguing TV market, right? We're all TV, this is a business here.
Yeah.
Better matchups versus them playing, if they were the 2 seed and Ottawa was the 7, playing a team maybe that's not, or Buffalo, that's not as intriguing of a matchup.
I would say the opposite. I think it's like we experienced last year. I think it's more intriguing to have those matchups later on, more skin in the game, like Devils Rangers.
Well, I remember last year you were of the mindset you wanted the Rangers to play the Devils, but you didn't want them to do it in the first round.
Yeah.
I do remember, which is fair. I get it. If you're into looking at that as the reason why, then yes.
I'd be happier they played each other later.
Yeah. Well, it was more meaningful for sure.
Exactly.
I mean, which the Rangers and Devils, they played in the conference finals, obviously, in 1994 as well as 2012.
Yeah. Winner goes to the Stanley Cup would be a lot more exciting conversation.
It certainly would. I would agree with that. So coming up, a very difficult schedule kicks off tonight with actually a pretty big game down in Carolina. Now you'll see Igor Shesterkin in net. They'll be in Tampa on Thursday, which I'm assuming will be Igor again. I think he'll go back to Quick Saturday afternoon in Pittsburgh, and then back to Igor again on Sunday versus the Islanders. So we'll pull up Jeff Adelson's comment, which is, we'll get a little off topic here, and I know people are going to get mad because it's not hockey. Jeff Adelson, hey fans, what do you think of Saquon Barkley betraying the Giants? I'm actually going to leave. I'm going to let you handle. I'm going to let you lead it. Yeah, this is you. You were talking about it before. Go ahead.
So, I mean, to be honest, people are getting on Saquon's, butt about this, but I think, I think this is 50-50. I think the franchise kind of, didn't give him really. He begged to be a Giant, and the franchise, went in another direction. So you can't be completely angry at Saquon. He begged to be a Giant for life. He's now getting the second highest paid contract out of all the running backs. So, you can't be mad at him for that. But it is kind of betraying that he did go to the Eagles, the filthy Philadelphia Eagles. But, I mean.
So we used to have, I'm going to throw a name out at people that watch.
Yeah.
Well, you know where I'm going, right?
Yeah.
We used to have a producer here.
Die Hard. Blood blue.
We used to have a producer, Pat. You may remember the name.
Mm-hmm.
And Pat went to college in Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And Pat hates anything Philadelphia sports. And the team that he loves, like we love the Rangers more than anything in any sport.
Mm-hmm.
When I say we, I mean me and you.
Mm-hmm.
He loves the Giants.
Mm-hmm.
So when we go off the air, we need to do a wellness check on him.
Yes.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Yes. So it's we're gonna see. We have an Instagram comment which I'm gonna take. If we're gonna go off topic, can you answer Talercio's or Parkwood Deli? So we've done these.
You can't do that.
Well, we've done these. No, here's what I'm gonna say. We've done these two New York Ranger sandwich collabs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm a foodie, but I like to eat.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that Talercio's and Parkwood Deli, as far as I know, you can tell me if I'm wrong, are probably the two most popular delis in the state. If they're not the two most, they're in the top 5 easily. If you look at their social media following, I will say this. They are very different places. John, if you want to DM me who sent the question, I'll give you my answer. Which one I would, if I could have one meal of the two, which one would I go to? I will tell you on DM if you would like. You can tell me. I'll tell you honestly. But they both are very good, but they're different. Like they're not the same. There's more choices at one. I think one, like what I had, different one style. Was the styles were different. One was more my style. Like if I had one meal and they were next to each other, which do I know which one I would go to? Probably I do. Yeah, I mean I do.
Yeah. But sometimes you want a mac and cheese sandwich. Sometimes you want a Reuben.
Sometimes you want a mac and cheese sandwich. Yeah. Is that what one of them has?
I mean a grilled cheese sandwich. Sometimes you want a grilled cheese. Sometimes you want an Italian hero. Sometimes you want a Reuben.
Yeah. And John, who's asking it on Instagram, send us a DM, and I'll be happy to debate this because it sounds like you've been to both. They're saying that they're different styles. I'm curious if my take on the two head-to-head or just comparison, not really head-to-head comparison, if my take is the same as yours, I'd be curious. So send us a DM. GS3099, even though it's been 2 games, what do you guys think of the trade pickup so far? I think it's early to tell. I think there's ways where Wenberg and Roslovic can fit. Again, you didn't give up a lot for them. So to me, you can't make a judgment after 2 games, but so far I think you could see ways where they could fit. You know what? Roslovic is a guy I didn't know a lot about. It's kind of like Frank Fortrano 2 years ago, right? As I said. And I think he's looked okay. So.
Oh, we got some updates.
No, we will not touch baseball. Well, you know what? Because it's Jeff Adelson, we'll touch baseball.
All right.
I'm just going to read it, and then we're not going to do it because we do not do baseball here.
Yeah, people get mad.
Get myself in trouble. Jeff Adelson is saying that update, former New York Yankee Luke Voigt is now in the New York Mets. He's also wearing number 99, same number as Aaron Judge on the Yankees.
Wow.
And if you are, never mind. I was going to do a bet on Garrett Cole, and I stopped myself. I'm not going down. So Roslovic has been more noticeable than Wenberg. I would agree with that. But Roslovic also, Nikolai, to be fair, is going to have a lot more opportunities to be noticeable because of where he's playing. And by the way, Mika Zibanejad with his first 5-on-5 goal last night since December 23rd.
Wow.
Which is a little bit scary.
Yeah, he's gotta get those
it's
numbers
March.
up.
It was March 11th last night. Anyway, we appreciate you guys listening as always. You guys are the best. You make the whole system here work. Check out the bamboozleproject.com. You could check them out at the bamboozleproject.com. As I said, use promo code MYPB. Get all your different stuff, gear, accessories as we move into the spring. It's always nice when the clocks move ahead. You know that?
Ahead?
No, yeah, the clocks moved ahead.
I know it's nice, like the sun stuff, but like that first night is a little.
No, first night's rough.
Yes.
Rough. So I had a hockey game. This deck hockey thing I did was Sunday night, and I don't know if it was that or the fact that like the clocks changed. Yeah, it takes a day or two to get used to, but in the end, it's well worth it because you have longer days.
Yeah, I was watching a movie. I think it happened Saturday night. I was watching a movie, and the movie ended. I'm just like, laying on the couch, and all of a sudden, I look at the clock. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, what the heck just happened?
Yeah. Well, you're up way later than me. Randy, you don't have to pull it up, but I'll just answer it. If Roslovic doesn't start scoring, do you switch Kako and him or let it roll? Hope they gain chemistry. I think you give it some time. I think you've got to give it some time. I mean, the hope is you got him specifically to play in that one right wing position. You've got to give him time to have the opportunity to develop chemistry. It's possible that they could go back to Kako, I guess, but it wouldn't be a good sign if they had to because that was not the goal.
18 games, approximately 3 games a week. We're looking at what, 3 weeks of playoffs?
Yes. No, we're looking at 5 weeks, April 15th. So I think
5 weeks.
It'll start the weekend of the 20th.
Let's go.
Yes, let's go. And we do not need to pull it up, but Jeff Adelson is asking, do you think the Rangers will have a chance to be playoff contenders? 100%, Jeff Adelson. Let's hope.
Buddy.
Keep the faith in South Florida, Jeff Adelson. That is it for us today. We appreciate you guys watching, as always, commenting on our stuff on Instagram. Big week of hockey coming up, some really, really major tests, and we will be back with you next Tuesday. Have a great week.